Hello viewer, the Nameless Scholar here. Once again, I'm making a video with the full knowledge that what I'm going to say is going to piss off a lot of people. Because the last one did. Just like the video I did on Trench Crusade, which most people know me for. Not even my video on whether or not the Imperium is the good guys of 40k has generated the amount of backlash like my last video did. One day, I'm going to piss off way too many people on the internet, and I'm going to pay the price for it, I'm sure.
Yeah! It's over, bro! I'm doing it, guys!
Now, if you have watched my previous videos, you will know that I am not a fan of Space Marine 2. I believe that it is a functional game with the soul of a shovelware game. Sure, it looks and plays good, but it is a soulless corporate slop with no care for the lore. I'm not saying it ruins the lore, I just think it's shallow in general. Well, you might say that my videos are also slop, but...
Yeah, you know what? That's a pointless argument right there. That's like if your dad says, I fucked your mom. It's like, I can't argue with that.
The difference is that I am just some guy with a microphone whining about an expensive toy soldier game. They are a game development studio, which the only bias I will admit I have is that I do not like Saber Interactive as a company, especially after what they did to The Evil Dead the game. Now, that aside, even if you completely dismiss my disdain for Space Marine 2, I still think that his recent presence, Titus I mean, is more forced than anything else. Titus used to be the captain of the 2nd Ultramarines before Scarius. Then he was disgraced, and now he's the 2nd company captain of the Ultramarines again. He's now in everywhere and everything. Let's look at 500 Worlds, shall we? Despite Titus leading the Reclamation campaign, it was Rebus Gilman that did the planning. Captains Fabian, Uriel Ventris, Iros, and Talos of the 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 10th Company respectively are all aiding Titus. Not even the 1st Company is given this much attention, you know, the Veteran Company. Think about why it is so. I'll give my own answers later. Now, I'm going to list all of the things that the Space Marines got, lore-wise, in the 500 Worlds book to make a point later. Ever since the Great Rift opened, the Ultramarines have been stretched thin and have been more reliant on successor chapters and mortal auxiliaries. 1st Company Captain Agamemnon has withdrawn from active combat for his Tetrarch duties. 1st and 2nd Company has pulled out of the Bastior subsector, so apparently one of the most intense zones of the 4th Tyrannic War has stabilized. Tugurius is back somewhere in Ultramar, which... Does anyone remember Vigilus? Oh, and Captain Helios is lost in the warp. That and the Reborn, the Scythes of the Emperor, Praetors of Ultramar, the Doom Eagles, the Avenging Sons, the Sons of Auror, and the Nova Marines are on the Crusade to cleanse the 500 Worlds. But what did the Necrons get? Subject 0 of the Destroyer Curse, Necrosaur Ammentar. At least he's implied to be the Subject 0, and he has the ability to transfer any Necron within his vicinity English, the Destroyer Curse. Apparently, he has moments of lucidity, and he believes the Nightbringer will destroy all life in the galaxy, and that's why he seeks to gather all the shards of the Nightbringer, and essentially just restore the Nightbringer. And it is implied the Nightbringer is still guiding Ammentar. I can see what they were trying to do with this. It is to bring back some semblance of the old Crons into the new Crons. It's that in practice, what we got is Necron Boogaloo.
Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 387.44 million miles of printed circuits in wafer-thin layers that fill my complex. If the word hate was engraved on each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal 1/1 billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro-instant. For you, hate! Hate!
That's all she wrote for the Necrons. Do you notice something? The Space Marines got a lot more content than the Necrons regarding lore. That's usual. Space Marines are GW's favorites. What is different this time is that Titus is a major part of it. This is the first time a 40k character that originated from a video game has taken such a spotlight in the lore. This is an anomaly. Tell me, do you think this is because it is narratively coherent? You could make the argument that it is because the main bad guys of 10th edition are the Tyranids. Okay, let's accept that. My response to that is, whatever happened to quote, "To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest, most bloody regime imaginable," unquote. Not even the Blood Ravens had been given the spotlight like this before. Not Davian Thule, not Steve Bloom voiced by Steve Bloom, not even Gabriel Angelos, whom had his own Forge World miniature. Hell, in Dawn of War 4, the Dark Angels are involved as well, and you get to play as Lionel Johnson. What are the Dark Angels doing in the story of the Blood Ravens? If anything, the Blood Ravens have been screwed over, but not Titus. You could make the argument that the Blood Ravens are an unknown founding while the Ultramarines are first founding. Okay, but the Blood Ravens are also iconic, and again, Gabriel Angelos has had his own model. And I would like to remind you that the Ultramarines have a rather shaky reputation. As far as I'm concerned, it is because GW saw that Space Marine 2 sold well, and they realized that they truly have a chance to become an IP lender company, as well as a media empire, and they are squeezing every pound they can possibly get from Titus on the tabletop game. Do you think that, say, Eliphas the Inheritor, Gorguts, or Farseer Macha or Taldir will get any models? Maybe, just maybe, Eliphas and Gorguts. But I'm more leaning on Gorguts, but that's because according to rumor, the 11th edition starter set is going to be Space Marines versus Orcs. But the Eldar? Of course not! They are Eldar, so fuck them and anybody who plays them. Eldar can't have good things. And if they do, they have to be the epitome of losing the battle but winning the war. Meanwhile, even the High Elves, Wood Elves, and the Dark Elves of Warhammer Fantasy are more competent than they ever will be. Hell, even the Lumineth Realm Lords, Daughters of Cain, and the Ideneth Deepkin in Age of Sigmar are more competent than the Eldar. The Eldar, however, are nothing short of a joke in 40k, hint hint. This leads me to my main point, if anybody actually got this far into the video, the point being Space Marine fatigue. You see, in Warhammer 40k, all armies are balanced. Some armies are more balanced than others, and Space Marines are the most balanced army of them all. Everyone knows of Games Workshop's favoritism towards Space Marines because the Loyalists are Games Workshop's cash cows, so much so that even GW themselves know this. This was inevitable. It's that the Ultramarines especially being given preferential treatment makes Space Marine fatigue worse one way or another. Although it is a dead horse today, the Ultramarines have a very shaky reputation due to the lore written of them by Matt Ward. Although the stuff he wrote for the Ultramarines is not as damaging as it was to, say, the Grey Knights, the damage was already done, so people already have a bias against the Ultramarines. With the end of the Horus Heresy in 2024, it was only natural that Games Workshop was going to focus on the Loyalist Space Marines even more. Even if the 40k galaxy is vast and there is more to the galaxy than just Space Marines, for every Infinite and the Divine, for every Eisenhorn omnibus, there are 5 more books about the Loyalist Space Marines. It's that this favoritism is eventually going to give, and it manifests as Space Marine fatigue. Titus, now being a central character, is more of a symptom of GW's favoritism. With the massive success of Space Marine 2, Games Workshop has found, well, a new way to earn profit from the Adeptus Astartes. That's the reason why Titus is now a central character, while Gabriel Angelos never was. Because especially after the disaster that was Dawn of War 3, the Blood Ravens sort of became irrelevant, really. And I have stated it before, and I'll say it again, Dawn of War 4 is going to sell well, even though it's going to be another Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin situation. It's going to be half-baked at release, but it's going to sell well because it's Warhammer 40k. What's worse is that the Blood Ravens will be overshadowed in their flagship franchise by the Dark Angels and the Lion. So that's it for me complaining. I just don't like the fact that 40k isn't a setting where you are one amongst untold billions anymore. So it isn't necessarily wrong for Titus to be much more established as a named character. The problem is that the 40k galaxy is large, very large, and it all takes place in the same places with the same characters. And the potential overshadowing of the Blood Ravens in their own game is something I really don't like. GW is cannibalizing their past material and milking it for all it's worth. It's why they do the stuff they do. They are making this vast galaxy feel shallower than it actually is, and can be much, much deeper. Well, anyways guys, this is going to be it for this video. I am the Nameless Scholar, and do not forget...
Apathy is death.